Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello, listeners. Welcome to Business Innovators Radio. This is your host, Constant Taylor. Today, we have a very special guest on the show, and they're going to share some very powerful information with us. So, if you're looking to increase your personal and professional effectiveness, then you've come to the right place. Our special guest today is Mary Nestor. Mary has been speaking professionally for 20 years. The content that she speaks on is management leadership, total quality management, success and motivational speaking, and she also does speaking evaluations. Mary has spoken both nationally and internationally and is based out of Savannah, Georgia. She has a book coming out soon called Say It Now and Say It Right. She also has an ebook that will be on her website soon called Lifelinks. Mary, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Thank you. We're glad to have you. Now, to kick off the show, I'd like to ask if you could tell the listeners a little bit about what you do, the services that you provide, and the types of clients that you provide them to.
Okay. Well, I started my consulting business back in 1996. I was actually working at the time. I had been working for Marriott, and I was working at actually it was a federal installation in Augusta, Georgia. I was a financial analyst, and this was not where I needed to be, but I had done a lot of training, and so I was putting together a training program one morning, sitting on the floor of my cubicle, and I looked up and I thought, you know what, this is really what I want to do. I was putting together some flip charts. So I quit my job, and I started my consulting business. My first clients were two individuals who wouldn't speak to each other. There were only two people in the whole company, and they would not speak to each other. So my very first consulting clients were communications problems. And I have been doing that in some form or another ever since. I was involved in a lot of total quality management. I was trained at Marriott as one of their TQM people. So I took the principles of quality management and process redesign, and I did a lot of training, a lot of consulting programs and consulting engagements for some clients such as Monsanto and NutraSweet Company and Garrett Aviation and Medical College of Georgia, lots of training and other engagements. But I really, really liked the aspect of communications. You know, everything is so important as far as communicating. Now, we say a lot of things. We send tons of emails. We are tweeting everybody, and we're texting everyone. But I don't know if we're really communicating any better than we ever did. And so I've recently started to rebrand my business, focusing mostly on communications. And it's delivering those tough and sometimes tender messages that are so important. But a lot of people really don't know how to do it. Say you have a boss who is a jerk. You can't just say, oh, you know what, you are a jerk. Or my job is horrible, and you're the reason why it's horrible. You really can't say those kinds of things. Now, we've all been in a position where we want to say that, and maybe we really need to say it, and the person who is the object of that conversation needs to hear it. But you just can't say those things, and keep your job.
Right.
So what I do is I teach people how to say those tough conversations and get the message across without being offensive, how to do it easily without fear, and to get the kind of results that they want. Because companies are losing their employees, they're going to lose opportunities, revenue, clients, a lot of things. They're going to miss some opportunities if they don't have a way to have honest and open and easy communications.
And what is I don't want to say the foundation, but what are the principles that go before actually sitting down and having a tough conversation with your boss or with your subordinate? Things that you want to say brutally, but...
Okay. Well, the first thing you need to do is take a big, deep breath. And don't say it yet. I guess I should say don't say it yet. But you'll say it now. Maybe say it later. You need to really think about choosing your opportunities. There are ways of saying things that are going to be receptive. If you come across too aggressive, then a person is going to be defensive. So first of all, you really have to take a deep breath and think about, what message do I really need to get across? Is it really you're a jerk, or is it when you communicate or when you give me assignments, you don't give me enough information so that I can be successful?
Okay.
So you have to stop and think about that. What do you really want to say? Now, once you come to that conclusion, it's a lot easier then to say, well, okay, how am I going to say that? Because it's really true. So I can then say, you don't give me the right information, so I'm not successful. Or you can say, I am really confused many times when you give me an assignment because I don't understand exactly what you want me to do.
Okay.
Can you be more explicit? That's one way of saying it. Or if you're in a meeting and you disagree with a suggestion or a solution to a problem, instead of just sitting there and saying, I don't want to say anything because people are going to think I'm just a negative, or someone is not going to like the fact that I'm disagreeing, you can raise your hand. You can say, that is an interesting solution, and I'm sure it has merit. Let me suggest an alternative.
Okay.
Or you can say what my Dale Carnegie instructors told me one time is if you want to give some constructive feedback, you can say something very positive, like I just said, that's a very interesting solution to the problem. If I could suggest something that was even better, that would give us better results, would you be interested?
There you go.
The answer to that question is going to be right.
Yeah.
It's a yes.
Yeah.
So it's all about saying it right.
Excellent. I know just speaking on the line of asking questions is a very, very powerful way that I've found for getting through disagreements and getting through frustration. Let's say, for example, I'll go back to my days as a financial analyst. I required reports from other departments, and they may have not been getting them to me on time. So I'd have a meeting, and I'd say, hey, listen, I need your help on something. But for the last 2 months, I have been down to the wire and even late getting my financial reports in, which is causing me major problems with my boss and something else. I would like your help in trying to figure out how I can solve this problem. There's a few things that I'm working on here, but there's also a few things that possibly you could help me out with. Would you be open to that? And that was just kind of...
Right. Yeah. Yeah, if you're asking for help or if you're making suggestions instead of making pronouncements, or you're putting a line down in the sand. And the thing about that, using the iMessage, we've all heard about that. But the important thing is to say it. Say it now. Don't wait. There's in many cases you have an opportunity to really tip the scale. You can have a disaster or not if you would just speak up in many cases. So many great ideas are lost in meetings or in organizations because people are either afraid to, they're reluctant to, or they have never been shown that their ideas have any value. They're just not valued. They're not appreciated. And so, or they give ideas and nothing ever happens. And it's not ever validated. So they think, well, why should I say anything? Because nobody listens to me. But, if you don't take that step, if you don't take the opportunity, how many times have you been in a meeting or had an opportunity to give it, and you have this wonderful, brilliant idea, and you're sitting there saying, this is groundbreaking. This is just going to knock your socks off. But you're afraid to say anything because, either conversation has gone to another topic, and you missed your opportunity, and then somebody else at the other end of the table raises their hand, some jerk that you don't like, maybe that's
right.
Somebody who's never had a great idea, and they come up with the very same thing. All of a sudden, the fireworks go off, and the balloons go up, and the confetti is all over the place, because this person is the most brilliant person in the world. And you're sitting there saying, that was my idea. I had that idea.
Yeah.
So you miss a lot of opportunities personally for growth and for recognition because you just don't speak up.
Yeah.
So my message is say it now, but say it right. And that way you will be, you'll be heard and you will be effective. Many times we just, there's a lot of different ways I could go into, but there's a lot of ways of saying it right. It's timing. It's the phrasing you use. It's the group that you have, the audience, in whether it's talking one-on-one or with a group. But say it now and say it right.
I think your second part, or actually the whole piece of say it now and say it right, is very critical, because I have seen situations in which someone would actually say it now, it would get dismissed, and someone would actually repackage it later on in the same meeting, and the balloons and the confetti would go off. So So say it now and say it right, making sure that you're able to communicate that message effectively. That's pretty important.
Yeah, and even if somebody piggybacks on your idea, it was still your idea. If you introduce it, but if you just sit there and don't say anything, or if it's say you can see a disaster looming, many times people will have a problem. They'll get together and this is the solution to the problem. Well, that if you do this, it's going to make it even worse. But you don't say anything because, and a lot of people will say, they don't want to say anything because they're embarrassed, or they don't want to be negative, or they don't want to counteract the boss. But sometimes people sit back and think, I'll just let them go, and they'll have a big mess on their hands. Ha ha ha. That's the person you want to say you're a real jerk. But there's many ways to think about that, and say it now. Put it out there. If people want to piggyback on it, and it's your idea, it's your seed, it's your gem, and they'll get the opportunity to get the recognition for it.
Excellent. So let's do a quick transition to life links, and then we will wrap it up. What is life links, and what message is that giving?
Life links is a communications and team building exercise that I created for a client. I was doing some change management with Augusta Technical College. This was years ago, and they wanted a fun, exciting, interactive team building exercise to use for their staff. So I came up with this idea, and it's 6 questions. It starts out with 6 questions, and you do a survey, you send it out to everybody, and they're just 6 questions about people and who they are. It's where did you go to high school? What is your favorite? What person would you like to talk to, living or dead? Who would you like to talk to? Let's see. One of them is, what is the craziest, most dangerous thing you've ever done? And so they answer these 6 questions, and this goes back to the facilitator, which would be me. I take all the answers to the questions and I write them out on slips of paper. And the fun thing about this is it's unplugged. It's no digital, no batteries included, and it gets people up, walking around, talking to each other, and interacting. So it's a lot of fun. So what happens is that the facilitator puts the answers on different colored sheets of paper, and it's color coded. So say the answer to the first question, I would take all the surveys back and I would write the answers to the first questions on, say, yellow slips of paper. So while we're doing the exercise together, we read the questions in order. So I would read the question out to the group and say, what high school did you go to? And what city and state was it in? Then I put all the yellow sheets with all the answers to the first question on the table. And then on the wall in the meeting room are other sheets of paper that have all of the participants' names on them around the room. So what they have to do is take an answer and try to match it to somebody. Say, who do you think gave that answer to that question? And you do it in silence, so nobody's talking about it. And you can only you can't put anything under your own name. You can't take anything away from your own name. So you go through this for 6 different questions, and each answer to a question is written on a different color of paper. So by the end of the 6 questions, you've got this wall full of all these different colored papers with all the different answers. Of course, nobody knows if they're right or not. So what you get to look at them, and it's really fun because some people who are very open in an organization or a group, all the answers will be right because everybody knows them.
Mm-hmm.
But many times they're all wrong. And it's fun to see what people think you said.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they think what you think, what was the stupidest thing you ever did. And then we debrief that, you know, why are some of the answers right? Why are they wrong? So you have this big discussion in the group. And then what everybody gets to do is put their own answers under their name. So it's a big reveal who these people really are. And I have a story about an individual. I did this with a group of linemen from Georgia Power one time, and there was one answer to this: what the stupidest, craziest, most dangerous thing you ever did. And one of the answers was, I escaped from a prisoner of war camp, and I took 2 people with me.
Wow.
Well, nobody knew whose answer that was until the second round, when we were able to put, you know, the answers under people's names. And they had originally put that answer underneath the CEO's name because we thought, well, big leader, you know, a hero, all this stuff. And it turned out to be a custodian.
Wow.
And people looked at this, you know, once the big reveal came along, it was like this man who, you know, was a custodian, all of a sudden he was just a different person. To say that he had done that, this heroic deed. And see, a lot of times, you know, and it just goes to show how you really don't know people.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know what they're capable of. Well, the very end of the Life Links is an opportunity to look at someone's profile and say, just from what you see on the board, how does that person, what kind of value or what do they contribute to the success of a team? And so you take those answers, which have nothing to do with your education, with your experience, you know, work experience, anything, and you draw from that how this person is valuable and how they contribute to the team. It's a huge exercise in building self-esteem, appreciation. People walk out of there they're just walking on a cloud because they've heard someone describe how valuable they are. It's a really exciting. It's a lot of fun.
It sounds like a lot of fun, and it sounds like a really good team-building exercise. Now, unfortunately, we've come to the end of the interview. Interviews like yours are always so fascinating, and you've got so much information to share. A question: if the listeners would like to get in contact with you and learn more information about your products and services, how can they do that?
They can do that a couple of ways. They can go to my website, which is mjnhconsulting.com, and they can. All of my contact information is there. The Life Links will soon be on the website for free, so you'll be able to download a copy. They can also call me my number is 912-844-1794, or they can send me an email. And my email address is Mary, M-A-R-Y, at mjnhconsulting.com.
Excellent. Mary, thank you so much for coming on the show. This was fascinating information that you shared with our listeners. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.